Here's Joe Borgia, the NBA Senior VP of Replay and Referee Operations. What a title. Telling NBA TV, Draymond Green doesn't jump directly towards Harden. He's jumping in front of Harden, trying to go across from him. The contact on this play, if you watch it close, is Harden. You see him sort of jackknife at his waist, and he brings his legs a little farther than he did on the first shot. And the only contact is with his feet down there at his lower legs. So in our opinion, Draymond would not have contacted James under normal conditions. He did not take away his landing area, so we felt that was the correct no call on that play. And at the end of the day, everything boils down to that play. So, Jay Will, you have been I wish everyone could have seen how eager Jay Will was to get in on this conversation as we were going through it. The floor is yours. What did you see here?
The rule has great intention, but it's being abused. And now, I agree that the first 3 calls against Klay Thompson should have been called in the first half. But what's happening right now is what constitutes a landing zone? Right? So a landing zone for James Harden in the second half, he kicks his legs out, he creates a contact. It puts the refs in a precarious situations because now as a ref, I have to worry about, okay, so everybody's athletic ability dictates a different landing zone. So for James Harden also, he's infamously known for flopping, kicking his legs out to create contact. That almost works against him and gives him more harm than it does helpful to him in a situation like this. Well, it's incredible.
This is my biggest issue. You are 100% right. But what happens is when you miss those first 2 or 3 calls, then they start to exaggerate it. Well, like they're not giving me the right call, then I'm going to exaggerate it. That's where Chris Paul throws his hip out. That's where James Harden on the last one even exaggerates it more because you're worried about more than just making your shot in an original call because you saw that they missed it every single time.
There were so many things about this that were frustrating. We'll start with this one, and then we'll move to other places. Here's my frustration, okay? And I heard Paul Pierce getting into it with Steve Javie after the game was over. There are no playoff calls, postseason calls, regular season calls. That's what Steve's position was. He's a former official. But here's the problem. That was a foul in every game this season. If you watch the NBA this year, those plays, landing zone, call it whatever you want, that was a foul every single time. So if you're going to tell me that wasn't changed yesterday, I'm going to tell you that's not right. You're just not right. If you watch the NBA this year, that's a foul in every game.
Greeny, my only thing, and I understand that. I think the rule, and I get how we want to protect the shooter. But in RJ, you've been a great defensive player. I played a long time. I don't understand how I'm supposed to gauge exactly where your landing zone is, Greeny. Like, what constitutes a landing zone? And this is why I think it's wrong with the rule. I think if you want to have the Zaza rule about protecting the shooter, it has to pertain to verticality. Like, if you want to sway an inch to the side or an inch forward, fine. If I land underneath you in your verticality zone, that's a foul. But if my landing zone is a foot ahead of where I am, then I don't know how I'm supposed to defend you.
And I agree with you, Jay. And that's why I said in the second half that those calls, I'm not 100%, I'm not all about those calls. But the ones in the first half, like those as a basketball player on any level, we're not talking about verticality landing zones. Those are fouls in every single level of basketball, including the NBA and including in the postseason.
And now the next point I think that we should make here, and I hope everyone had a chance to read Brian Windhorst's column on this on ESPN.com. And if you haven't, I recommend it highly because he makes the point that these are 2 teams that have mastered the art of getting calls. They have sort of mastered the art of gerrymandering the officiating to work to their benefit. Both of them so well, and now here they are going head to head. And Draymond Green, who was complimentary of the officials, if they had lost that game, he would have been the first one complaining because he was complaining the whole game.
Agreed. But again, that's what it is. It's like when things go their way, they're fine. And it's look, this is not about Draymond Green. This is about Steph Curry. This is about Klay Thompson. Both guys that are coming into this series with ankle injuries. If someone would have been doing that, and that would have been Steph that they were going underneath, then this would have been like everywhere. Everybody would have been issues if Steph Curry would have hurt his ankle. This could change the entire series. So that's where Houston has that issue, and they're just like, look, we just want a fair chance.
I understand what you're saying, but you have to play through that if you're Houston. I mean, Eric Gordon and James Harden combined for 8 of 39 from the three-point line.
That's not good.
That's not good at all. So my thing is, regardless of whether fouls are being called or not, what happens is you see this turn into temper tantrums, and then you see them going at the refs. And I understand they have every right to go against the refs, but it takes them psychologically out of the game.
And very quickly, we did see Chris Paul make a little bit of contact with an official at the end of the game. Is there any conceivable chance that is discipline that spins over to game 2?
No, I don't think he went over to talk to it. I don't think this was like a bump where he was just like trying to let somebody know. I don't know if that was going to warrant maybe a fine, but I don't think the NBA wants to interject here and suspend somebody. But I really do feel like this series is now over. This was their one opportunity. They have to win 4 out of 6. It's not going to happen.
My bigger point about the Zaza rule is it takes away a little bit from basketball. I understand what the NBA is trying to do. I understand ankle injuries. I get all that. But I mean, we've been competing at this game for a very long time. The NBA has been in existence for 72 years. We haven't had a lot of players. We had the Jalen Rose situation with Kobe. We had the Kawhi Leonard situation. We had Markieff Morris 2 years ago. But it takes away from my ability to truly defend you, Greeny, if I'm worried about where I'm landing every single time I'm trying to contest your shot. It really
understand.
does. I have to essentially jump backwards to try to contest your shot.
Greeny, he's fired up.
I understand, but there's no question that the momentum of the defensive player on the closeout is moving forward as well.
So
every one of those
my
plays.
momentum is a foot ahead of where I leap. Your momentum is coming towards me, so how am I supposed to garner where my landing zone is?
That's the problem.
You would want that call.
Well,
you would want
the problem, very quickly, and I want to move on here. The problem is they have to figure out how they're going to call this going forward, right? They have to make it as everyone needs to get together and figure out this is the way this is going to be called for the remainder of this series, because they cannot have this. They can't have a 10-minute conversation right off the top of our show about the way this call is being officiated.
So this is why I said it puts the refs in a precarious situation.
Right.
So now as a ref, what am I supposed to be watching? Am I watching you getting contact ahead, like from your hands? Am I watching your feet and where you land?
First is wrist, next is feet.